Hello, hello, construction professionals. Welcome to the podcast where we flip the script on what it means to live, breathe, and lead construction today. In this podcast series, we unpack how great construction can really be when you lead with humanity, put people first, and drop the bullshit of the way it's always been done. Our world has changed, our conversations have changed, and it's time construction catches up.
Hello, folks. Jonathan Sinelli, People First, Then Construction, your host of this podcast, this movement. We're talking about special people, and today it's an honor to come to you from Miami, Florida. This is super cool, my first time here, unique experience. My guest today will be Phil Russo, Heavy Duty Homes Miami, www.heavydutyhomes.com. Tremendous organization. I say that with passion because we're not here talking about competing with everybody else. Heavy Duty Homes does it dramatically different. They challenge the status quo. Their main focus is every day is a school day. Let's get better today than we were yesterday. Phil talks heavily about that. We're talking about the courage and bravery to pivot from doing something phenomenal in Toronto and bringing that same ideology, philosophy, and work ethic into the Miami space, what that looks like, and how we get into that. So thanks for making time and space to be here. Phil and the Heavy Duty team are amazing. So glad you're here. I'm gonna pivot right into Phil. This is gonna be a great show. Phil, welcome to the show, man. This is exciting.
Yeah.
True honor, pleasure. Thank you. It was like first time to Miami, and I couldn't be more grateful to share space with you. Like truly, it's an honor, it's a pleasure. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for introducing me to this space. Thanks, by the way, for introducing me to Espanola Cigar Lounge. This place is amazing. We've been here for about, I don't know, an hour and a half shooting the shit. And right away, very welcoming. This is why we're here today, right? We're talking about the experience, and you and I were talking about this offline, and I want to bring this online.
Sure.
It's the fucking experience, right? We're sitting here saying, hey man, what do you need? The gentleman here saying, what do you need? I love a coffee. No problem, we'll get you a coffee. You need a fan. What do you guys, like, it's the hospitality, it's the service. And this is what really attracted me to having this conversation here, because you had the courage, the bravery, the balls to sit here and say, Heavy Duty Homes, we're a fucking rock star in Toronto, and we're gonna take what we do in Toronto and bring it to Miami, and that's what excites me. So tell me about this, because why Miami?
Why Miami? Miami for so many reasons. Number one, I personally love the culture here, and I love how the service industry operates down here. Very similar to Heavy Duty Homes and how we do things. So I believe in building long-term relationships with my clients, my customers, my investors, everything, and that's how businesses are kind of developed here as well. So I've had so many great experiences in my life here, and when I was bringing Heavy Duty over to South Florida, this was it was a no-brainer for me. It feels like home. It feels like second home for me. So I brought Heavy Duty here for that reason alone, and we just kind of build on everything else. Money and all that stuff, it comes later, but it's important to feel good where you are when you build your business.
I love that, right? And you talk about we do things for emotionally charged reasons. And the first thing that jumped out at me is it felt good. It felt like home, right?
That's right.
Because that's the experience. There are so many people who can look in and say, first of all, if you don't know Heavy Duty Homes, fucking do your homework, folks. Like rock star of an organization.
Thank you.
And there's so much more I can talk about, and we're going to get to that. And there's a lot of people out there who are saying, I'm gonna be straightforward. You feel, what the fuck is the matter with you? Why don't you focus your time, energy, and resources on the shit in Toronto and never mind Miami? And I'm super curious. Somebody says that to you. How do you respond to that?
It's very hard without offending people. Toronto, it's my home. It's where I was born and raised. It's where I grew up. I built my business there. It was so fruitful for me, and I have everything to thank to the city for that, and GTA. But I mean, we kind of outgrow everything as time goes, and that's what I feel happened with me. I outgrew it. As much as I still love it, this has been so good to me in terms of my emotional satisfaction. Every time I come here, I feel like I'm home. And when I go back to Toronto, I don't really feel home anymore. And I think it was just that shift, not only for weather and the culture and the service industry, but the pandemic had a big play for me as well. I mean, when we were forced to stop working, I decided to come here because things were still popping.
Sure.
And that's when I started building relationships. So COVID-19 and the measures that the city took gave me that ability to start thinking outside of the box and maybe expansion and stuff like that. And, it was a fantastic choice for me. And 2 years in now, we don't regret it at all. I'll never look back. We're going to keep Toronto, obviously, keep it growing and keep it running smoothly, and still build something big in the meantime over here. All of South Florida, not just Miami. Miami's where we come to smoke cigars and enjoy ourselves, but the bulk of the work is done inland.
Okay, there's a whole boatload of things there that just make me super curious.
Yeah.
So I want to pivot first to this when you said something where, because this is a very real conversation, a real talking point. I've outgrown Toronto, and you use the framework of it sometimes doesn't feel like home. What do you mean by that?
It doesn't feel like the city that I once grew up in.
Okay.
So much has changed, and that happens everywhere. Every city, every municipality, every country, they have their changes, and some people just kind of stay and adapt, which you can, or you kind of go seek something elsewhere where it kind of fits who you are and who you've become, because we change as people also. Maybe I've changed into somebody who prefers, warm weather and a more laid-back lifestyle versus the hustle and bustle and everything that Toronto once gave to me. And, so I have to kind of change my surroundings with who I'm becoming. And that was a big factor as well.
Okay, so now I want to challenge the business side of things.
Sure.
For all the business professionals listening out there, right? Saying, hey Phil, that sounds like a wonderful vision.
Yeah.
And it's expensive. And when you talk about Miami, we're talking about,
Miami's expensive.
Miami's very expensive.
Yeah.
Right? In context of other things. So they're gonna say, yeah, fucking great dream. How do you make that a reality? Because isn't it challenging to work in Florida?
It is very challenging in terms of, I guess, seeking labor. When you're used to the labor force in a place like Toronto, which is also very much like New York or other populated cities where they don't really have good weather, all we really have is a business and a very strong workforce and a good work ethic, because that's all we have in life. Over here, they have weather, they have beaches, so they kind of put work second. So when I'm dealing with tradespeople, I'm very used to my job site being tradespeople's priority, where here it comes second to what they plan with their families and friends and what they want to do in their own personal time. So that's one of the hardest adaptations here, is finding that work ethic, because I'm making promises to clients that, we're going to get it done in this timeline for this much money, when meanwhile somebody wasn't doing their job when I was doing my due diligence in the beginning, because they were focused more on, I got to go to the beach tomorrow, I'll get Phil his numbers, let's just pump something out and maybe it won't be accurate. Well, that has a chain reaction down the road for me, and these are the issues we've been encountering. So that's why I need to spend the bulk of my time here and do all the groundwork myself, as if I was opening the business again from day one, the same way I did in Toronto. I have to do everything to see it through, to ensure accuracy, to ensure professionalism, to make sure the clients are satisfied, to keep everything on brand, and to still give my customers a feel like I'm in your corner personally. And that's what we've always been about, is service. So that's the biggest challenge.
Okay, so we're gonna just pump the brakes and stay here for a moment, because this is really interesting. When you talk about, and I appreciate, one thing about heavy duty homes is the honesty, the integrity, the transparency is absolutely phenomenal. The moment from walking inside the heavy duty homes facility, I'm blown away, right? Everything about the organization is vividly transparent every second of the way. So when you talk about, I'm saying that wholeheartedly. One thing I know is when heavy duty home says we're going to do something, that's non-negotiable. It's happening.
Absolutely.
Right? It's happening. There's no more bullshit of, we told you you're going to move in July and it's really going to be December. No.
Right.
You have a very strong, a bunch of processes that lead to allow you, to afford you the ability to have that integrity and that commitment. And when you talk about transitioning to the Florida culture, which is dramatically on the other side of that scale.
Right.
I want to come back to say, what do you do to sort of keep your finger on the pulse and take a temperature reading on really what's going on?
I come to Espanola and smoke cigars and drink tequila. That's the only thing to calm yourself back down, because when you're used to things going your way and then everything doesn't anymore, because you've changed your surroundings, it's very frustrating, incredibly frustrating. So we do still keep our promises no matter what. It's just how much more hands-on do you need to be personally that you didn't plan on? How much money are you going to lose that you didn't account for because you need to fix all these mistakes? So that's a huge factor in this, in transitioning, locations for your business in such a dramatic way. I wish I had some examples of something recent, but I always take it back to one of my first experiences with tile.
Sure.
I took on a project which was about 2,000 square feet of tile, some minor renovations for a really nice family, and I figured, I could run this job from Toronto. I have my tile setters, I got team members, everything, and it's a simple job. I'll be able to stay at my Toronto office and work and get this Florida project done. Well, the tile setter doesn't show up on his first day that he was scheduled to work. Confirmed dates. Second day goes by, he shows up half day in, sets up all of his tools, lays 2 or 3 tiles, and leaves. Doesn't come back for 2 weeks, doesn't answer his phones, all his tools are on site. I have very upset client and designer. I actually had to fly down here to start interviewing other guys and finding other companies to come and get this tile work done because it's just so unreliable. So now the cost of that flight and your time off of the projects that you were working on at the other location just cost you more than whatever profit was in that small job. You learn from these mistakes. So not only do you need to be here full time, but you need to make sure that you're hiring people that are 100% vetted by others. You can't just take anybody whose work looks good on Instagram or people that make promises, because they do make a lot of promises.
Sure.
They don't live up to them.
Okay, so hang out here for a second now. We know Toronto, right? And you still get that stuff in Toronto, okay? There's always sort of the transactional tradespeople,
Yep.
right? And then there are sort of people who are middle of the pack or somewhere in between, and then there's the exceptional, I'm gonna use the word elite. Tell me more about that. So this happens. So what now? What? Like most people are going to say, that's the primary example, Phil. I won't come to Florida, or I won't get out of my comfort zone in Toronto.
Right.
So what now? What? What happens next? How do you manage that?
Well, you take your lick and you get back down here and you start vetting everybody else. So everything else in Toronto goes on hold. Luckily for us, we've built such a strong base of team members that can handle everything that's going on in Toronto without me being there. So when I'm down here, I now know that I need to be here supervising the work, being on the site, calling these guys in the morning. Are you coming? I'll meet you there. Plan meetings. Don't just leave the job site in their hands, because it won't get done. If they know that there's not somebody throwing the hammer down on them, it won't get done. This is where we've been kind of lucky now, because we've been here for 2 years with tradespeople and workers from other states like New York, Texas. They have different work ethics. So I've been hiring guys that have moved to Florida from out of state to do the work, because they're not on that kind of island time or beach mentality or anything. And not to say it's wrong. People put that as a priority. Hats off to you. But when I make promises to our clients, we got to get them done. So when a tradesperson makes a promise to me, I expect them to live up to it, and that's not always the case here, especially in South Florida.
Well, and this is the whole thing, right? This is what we talk about, leading with a people-centric approach. People, when the folks doing the work actually understand the impact downstream,
Right.
that makes a big difference, right?
Big chain reaction. It throws off everybody's timeline. All the 20 guys that were scheduled after that one tradesperson has now been pushed. So what if they have other jobs that now take place 2 to 3 weeks later in their schedule that you had blocked out that time for? So that throws off people. It could it could turn a 4-month project into 7 months at the blink of an eye because of one unreliable tradesperson. Because it keeps stacking people and pushing people. GTA, we're so well organized and so packed and have so many contacts that we can combat this. But starting fresh in Florida, we don't have that.
Okay,
And not many people do.
Pull the handbrake here.
Yeah.
You say, we can combat this in Toronto.
Yes.
Tell me about that. I think it's very important to acknowledge what heavy duty homes does in Toronto that's different, and how we can or cannot take that same ideology to Florida.
I've spent 7 years there building my network and my business.
Sure.
So people know what to expect, what they're going to get paid, how soon they'll get paid, the quality of the work they need to produce. These are all things that come into play, where here I don't have that, that history with people yet.
Right.
Because we're starting fresh. So aside from that, I don't have the network. So I don't have 20 other tile setters or 20 other plumbers that I can call to jump in and handle an emergency if somebody walked off the job or didn't show up. Toronto, we have all that network. So we're constantly problem solving, and that's what building is. Anybody can build something. It's when the building doesn't go as per drawing. How do you problem solve? And that's where experience comes into play. And it takes some time to implement that into a market that you're not familiar with. Because I can do great things here, but I need to be here.
Right.
And that's where Toronto will start to kind of weaken a little bit. Not to say that my staff and my team are not strong, but there's a certain element of things that I produce over there as well. So when my time's taken away, it's hard. It's not like we're opening just another location or a store where we sell a product.
Right.
It's custom, it's relationships, it's big sales, it's big dollars.
Yeah.
People don't want to just talk to anybody. They want to talk to the owner and make sure that their money's secure.
Sure.
And that's where you kind of feel like you're being pulled from limbs.
Okay, so many things happen here.
Yeah.
We talk about problem solving, and we know that as construction professionals, one of the biggest things we do is solve problems.
Right.
It's sort of the day-to-day stuff, right? Here's a problem, solve it. That happens consciously, subconsciously. There's a leak in the roof. Okay, here's how you're going to fix it. We problem solve. So now when we talk about problem solving, is there commonalities, differences, similarities? Like, what's the scoop between problem solving in Florida versus problem solving in Toronto, if any?
Well, in Florida, you have all your same building problem solving, your permit issues, your site issues, things change, but then you have to add tradespeople issues, and you feel like you're parenting again. Just tons of stupidity. Problems that shouldn't be problems are being added to the mix. So now, that's where real frustration comes into play, because you can't even get the simplest tasks done. You can't get the people on site to do the simplest tasks because they're so preoccupied with other things. So
heavy question coming your way. Ironic, I should have said heavy question.
Yeah.
But heavy question coming your way is that, what's the distractions? Do you know? Have you picked up on some? What are the distractions that keep people away?
There's always one common
excuse. This guy says he doesn't show up for fucking 2 weeks. Dude, I don't know if you're dead or alive. Do I send the cops for you? Do I send the paramedics?
The most common excuse is my family member was in the hospital.
Okay.
So why didn't you answer your fucking phone? Tell me that. Because they don't know how to answer. Maybe they took on too much work. Maybe somebody else that they wanted to take a deposit from you so that they could get the job, but they weren't done one. So they lie to you. They tell you, okay, I'll be here. I'll start this project. They'll drop off some tools, but then they won't show up. They'll go back to their other job. So in their head, they think they've secured that project. They've taken your deposit. They've dropped some stuff off, but no, you need to produce. So I'll take all that shit and throw it on the road and go find somebody else now. So that timeline is so important, because that's what customer service is. It's meeting our promises, and shit happens. We can't always meet every promise. It's construction. There's going to be delays. There's going to be curveballs, and it's up to us to explain to the client, this happened. The drawings showed this. This showed this. I'm going to have about a 2-week delay. I need to reorder material and rethink this. But when people are not showing up, how do you explain that? It just makes you look like an idiot. You don't have people that or you don't have a company that's as well knit as you promised your customer. So they're making you look bad. This is a huge challenge here.
So how do you explain that to the client?
I told them from the start, being in Florida, I said, listen, we're a very good company. We know what we're doing, but I'll be very transparent. The tradespeople here are not the greatest. It's exactly lives up to what you've heard about it. The rumors are all true. And that's one big thing in South Florida is it's impossible to find skilled labor. What I can promise is that the job will come out perfectly, because I'll supervise it and I'll make sure that it gets managed. But what I can't promise yet is that it'll get done on the timeline that I give them. And that hurts me, because we pride ourselves on our management of things, and you're only as good as your team members are. So it's one of those things.
You say that to a client, just role play for a second. I'm the client, and I'm building a multi-million-dollar home, or renovating it, and I hire heavy duty In this case, actually, I'm going to talk about the home aspect of it.
Right.
It's pretty cool. There's some wonderful ladies walking by filming us, so I mean, we're movie stars, Phil. This is great. Anyways, I got distractions.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this, right, the question is, does the end user understand that? Do they know what the workforce is like?
Over here, because they've heard so many rumors, they're at least going with a credible company that they know is going to deliver a good product. So that's half the battle. The other half is the timeline. We're fortunate to have customers that have other properties. They're financially set. They're very well off. So it's different when you're moving somebody out of their only home and they need to go rent a house for a renovation. That's a very different situation for somebody who lives in another state or another country and is giving you $3 million to build them a home on the beach.
Yeah.
Because now to them, it doesn't matter if it takes 10 months to a year or if it takes 18 months to 2 years, because it's not their principal residence. They're not paying rent, they're not losing their salary somewhere, so we're fortunate for that reason alone, but it's still no excuse. Like, we want to be able to produce a plan. And when we can't produce the plan for something so stupid as guys won't show up and do their job when we schedule them, that's embarrassing.
Of course it is.
Whether the customer has money or not, whether you're making a good product or not, that's embarrassing. It's how can you not get, if you're a parent, like that's the same thing as not being able to get your kids in order or your kids in line.
Yeah, you're responsible.
That's what the tradespeople are to us. They're my children. These projects are my babies.
Yeah, listen, and I want to actually talk to the tradespeople out there who are listening to this, because here's the special thing. I want to go back to the hospital scenario where you talk about, that's a commonality, that's a common theme. First of all, I'm going to say, if that's bullshit, and you're a human being saying that, the only thing that comes to mind is shame on you. You never want to say that shit, man. Like, we're talking about life. You don't pull that, tell the fucking truth. And I'm saying that purposely because I know heavy duty homes and everything about the organization. If I was the electrician on site and I called you and it was real and I said, Phil, my wife's in the hospital, I know what the response is going to be. It's going to be, Jonathan, how can we help you? What do you need?
Of course.
Right? And you're going to create contingency plans and backup plans.
Of course.
Right? Like, I know that because I have the faith and trust that heavy duty homes, there's psychological safety there. You're seen, heard, and understood. Everybody in your organization, everybody who represents that, HDH name is there. So for the tradespeople out there who are pulling that shit, this is real. If you're going to apply, especially for an organization like Heavy Duty Homes or anybody else out there, but I'm talking Heavy Duty Homes specifically, do your research. This is no bullshit. This is not a transactional thing. When you sign up, you're honoring the same commitment because you need to know.
We hold our clients accountable
to
as
say
well.
to the client, hey man, I got your back.
Right.
I got your back.
Yeah. That's what we're doing. We hold our clients accountable for three things: to put their faith in us, to trust us with the timeline, and to pay us on time. They always honor those three things. 9 times out of 10, they honor those three things. And to me, what are they looking for? They're looking for a quality project on their budget and on time. I need to produce this I need to reciprocate. So when it's at the mercy of people who lie and just don't show up, it sucks. It really fucking sucks. Because you can do as much as you want in your head, but when it's not working on the ground, that's when shit hits the fan. You lose all trust from your client as well at that point.
You pulled on the heartstrings here, and you talked about something that's always tremendously important to me is children, and the correlation between the children and the tradesperson. It's that same thing of saying to if I was to say to my children, hey guys, we're going to do something, we're going to go for ice cream, and we didn't go for ice cream, right? Happens once, fine, right? I clear it up with them, but let's say I didn't. Happens the second time, they're still going to start to lose faith.
Of course.
Right? They say, Dad, I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth anymore.
That's right.
Right? That's that trust thing. And
It's
if you're going to have a robust, solid team where you can, where children know that a parent has got their back, period, it's pretty heartwarming when a kid says to you, I know you got my back. Flip the script on that and bring that into the construction world. This is what we're missing.
Exactly.
Like to say that I've got your back. And in order for me to have your back, there's got to be an understanding that I see you, I hear you, I respect you, and
Yeah,
that's reciprocal.
that's right.
That's reciprocal.
One thing I've been trying to do to combat this as well is build tight networks with other builders and contractors, because people have always kind of had this hate for competition, for their competition. There's enough work out there. There shouldn't be any competition. Whether you're winning a job or they're winning a job, you're doing something wrong. Don't hate the competition, hate your process. So what I've been trying to do is, constantly trying to befriend other builders, get more guys in my network saying, you guys are doing a fantastic job. I love your product. I love how you're building. We're heavy duty. We want to be friends with you guys. If I have trades fall short of me, I want to be able to call my other contractor or builder buddy and say, hey, do you have a tile setter available? Do you have a plumber available? I'm lacking guys over here. And keeping those strong relationships with the guys on top, as opposed to dealing with the tradespeople, has been very helpful as well.
Yeah.
As opposed to battling with these guys and hating them and talking shit about other companies. So I've been literally calling them and, hey, let's set up a lunch with these other companies and getting to meet the superiors now.
How's that going for you?
That's been working really well. Changing the game, because even though I have a very, I guess, confrontational demeanor, I'm a nice guy. I'm very easy to get along with. People maybe see that differently. They don't want to approach me or anything, but I want everybody to know that you can approach me for guys. If you need help, if you need a sub, if you need a contact, I'm here to give it to you. I expect the same when I need it. I'm here to build those relationships. Working together, we can get so much more done. So much more. And since I've started doing that, I've had guys in Toronto reaching out to me saying, hey, love the work you do. I saw your podcast. I saw your episode. I have 2 cousins who are plumbers in Miami Beach. Give them a call. They're fantastic. And I've been gaining a lot of other tradespeople and building my network that way, just from making friends with other people in the industry that would normally see me as competition. Well, not competition. The customer's going to choose who it goes to. You do your job well, you present your company well, you're going to get the job. If I do it better than you, don't hate on me. Come and sit down at my table and talk to me. How do you do it? And I'll happily give you that advice. And what I do, I don't know the answers to everything. I just do what I do, and sometimes it yields results, sometimes it doesn't.
Today's episode brought to you by Heavy Duty Homes. I'm talking to Phil Russo today. It's Heavy Duty Homes Miami edition, because surround yourself with great people. Heavy Duty Homes does that. Get in their orbit. HeavyDutyHomes.com. Do they check all the boxes? Absolutely. It's more than that. It's the experience they create. It's how they leave you feeling. It's the environment. HeavyDutyHomes.com. www.HeavyDutyHomes is going to be in the show notes. Heavy at Heavy Duty Homes. My goodness, thank you. Thank you to Phil. Thank you to the Heavy Duty team. Thanks for enabling this to occur today. Tremendously grateful. Folks, get in touch. Heavy Duty Homes does it differently. Do your homework, do your research. They do it differently. I've heard you say it multiple times, even part of our relationship together, is the framework of every day is a school day. You live by that.
Every day's a school day.
You live by that. And it's true. Like, you don't know it all. And you're also checking your ego, saying, I don't know it all. I can tell you what works for me. And if it works for you,
right.
If it works for me, cool, I'll share it with you.
Yeah.
Right? So
I'm only 7 years in business, but I don't sleep. This is all I do. This is what I live and breathe, and it's all I care about. So if you're not going to do something with, wholeheartedly and passionately, then why do it at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what Heavy Duty Homes is all about. That's how I try to instill to, my staff and my team members and all that. And I feel like they're all passionate about their job. They're all protecting of me and the company. So it's a slow build. You weed out the bad ones. Eventually you get there. But you do it with other companies. We all get there together.
Taking a very different approach to a very traditional dog eats dog world, and it's humbling, and I'm proud and honored to share space to hear that, because that's how we grow as not only as a society, as an industry, as a species, right? And you talk about the relationships that you form. So there's so much buzz, and I think the first thing that comes to mind, take us into that pathway then. Tell us out there, like, who is the ideal Heavy Duty Homes client?
The ideal client.
Yeah.
The ideal client is somebody with an unlimited budget and an unlimited amount of trust. but that doesn't exist.
Okay.
So coming back to reality, we can work with anybody who provides a realistic budget. A lot of people are kind of out of touch with what things cost. It's our job to educate and bring people up to speed with what things cost and realistic timelines. So my ideal client is anybody who's willing to listen and understand and take a note home from me. People that are kind of ignorant to what I'm saying and still think they can get it done for half the cost and half the time when I'm trying so hard to tell them that no, you're going to lose quality, this is going to happen, and these are the possibilities that could fuck your project up. Those are the wrong clients that do not want to take advice because they just they're know-it-alls. So any ideal client definitely would say somebody willing to listen and learn and take the advice from the person they're hiring. Put their trust. This is why I hired you. You give me the answers.
Wow.
And we can make it work with any of those people.
There's one common narrative or what word that kept showing up, and it's trust. I think that's the biggest thing to
Trust.
take away.
Yeah.
Trust. Now, I want to challenge this.
Yep.
Because we're here today because we're doing things differently, and it's about the heavy duty experience. And talk to me about this. We're interrupting patterns. We're changing the narrative. You have the traditional, I'm going to say guy, male, who's going to come to you and say, Phil, I want to do a 3,000 square foot reno, gut job of my home. What's it going to cost me? Let's talk about square footage cost. We know Toronto. What's Florida? What's
Sure.
it?
Well, Florida's pretty at par in terms of most of South Florida. We're not going to really loop Miami into this because it's very expensive to get anything done in Miami. It's densely populated with tourists. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of logistical nightmares in Miami. But the more inland you go, the more it becomes, very similar to GTA. So, cost-wise, I can pretty much peg it on the dollar with a conversion.
So what are we talking a square foot? What are we talking square foot these days?
We're at about $600 to $800 a square foot to build.
So yeah, $800 a square foot.
To build mid to high end.
Yeah.
And anything that's custom luxury is going to be 800 to 1,000 plus.
No, I asked that wholeheartedly because there was a time, and today's we're into the end of June of 2023, and there was a time and space where you would say to somebody $400 a square foot gave you lavishly nice finishes.
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Right.
2019 we were doing 400 a square foot, and that was really nice. Now
Okay.
I can barely manage that for a builder basic home.
Okay, so now you got guys who are. Is there still people in that mindset orientation that say you're fucked? I want to take $400 a square foot.
Yes. Yeah.
So how do we respond to the guys that say, I know construction, I know what I gotta do, I don't need you?
All I can do is just have a very polite conversation, wish them well, good luck with your project. I can't even get into somebody who's that stubborn.
Okay.
I can't change their mind.
Okay, so if you could share sort of one thing with that person, what do you say to them at that point in time?
I would probably tell them that I learned the hard way myself. Even when I took projects on, as pricing increased, I took projects on for less, I lost a ton of money. I got burned so many times doing it. I maybe just share some exact experiences that I've had and try to maybe turn them. But when people are so stubborn and so prideful, it's very hard to convince.
Well, this is important to go to, right? Because there's, I'm going to use this word purposely, there's unfortunately a misconception out there that the contractor screws people.
Right.
And I'm saying this purposely because
I don't even say it's a misconception because it does happen.
Right?
24/7.
You're talking about the cost of taking on a job and losing money. This is your livelihood. This is your family. You've got multiple families to support, and people don't believe that jobs actually lose money.
Right.
We're not in business to lose money. You didn't sign up for that shit, right? So then you get. The only thing that comes to mind is, and I've said this in a different podcast episode. I'm going to say it again. There's dickheads out there who screw the contractor and say, "You and I have had this conversation."
More
where
customers screw their contractors.
Yeah. You get to the end of the job and it's like this guy's like, "Oh, I think I'm going to squeeze Phil for 10%."
Right.
Oh, fuck you.
Let's see if we can make them, let it go.
Fuck you.
Yeah, that happens too.
Like that hurts.
That happens so often. But our contracts are so tight knit, and you got to remember, going back to the start of this topic, I don't really see myself as a contractor. I started off as one. To me, a contractor in somebody's eyes is somebody who works independently, maybe has one or two helpers, and they kind of stay on one job site the whole time. We're set up like developers. So when you come to my office, you see our outfit, you meet the team, you see that we have admin staff, office managers, project managers, site supers, in-house general laborers, in-house skilled laborers, a fleet of vehicles, insurance. Where the fuck are we going? To screw you on your money. You know, we're here to keep our reputation. We've built this brand, we've built this business, we've built this little mini empire to make our customers feel safe, to make you feel like you're part of the team. We give you our clothing to wear on your backs. When I have my customers leave, they say heavy duty on their back. You know, these are not the type of people we're gonna screw. So very differently, on every avenue is how we've tried to do things. And that word contractor, again, it just doesn't apply to us anymore. But there are lots of contractors out there that do screw clients. They'll take a deposit, realize they underpriced the job, and disappear. They'll change their number, took their 10, 20 grand, and now the client's fucked.
Okay, literally jumping for joy, and so I want to get this out because this is what we're talking about, right? You know, you're not even chasing competition anymore. This is it. Like, there's a lot of folks out there in our space, in the construction world, that are too concerned about what everybody else is doing. Heavy Duty Homes has really separated themselves and said, I'm not even concerned what everybody else is doing.
Right.
Because I know that if I'm not getting better, the only person I'm comparing myself to is who are we yesterday and how do we get better?
The battle has always been me versus me, right? Nobody else. And you can see a million motivational quotes and Instagram memes and photos, and it's very true. The battle always is you versus you. Look in the mirror and you're your own worst enemy. Once you kind of see that, which it hit me about 2-3 years ago, and that's how I was able to grow the company so fast. When I stopped paying attention to what everybody else was doing and started paying attention to how can I perfect my own process, that's when we really grew. Because that is an energy-sucking fucking demon when you are looking at what other people are doing. And it's taking so much effect out of your head that you could be putting towards positive motions for your business. And that's one huge key, if you ask me.
Thank you.
Of course.
That's huge.
It's big.
That's huge. Because we can drive around, and I'm going to say this, I mentioned this offline, and it was embarrassing. I was driving from Tampa to Miami this morning, and I swear to God, and Mr. Sparky, I think, was the name of the organization. So Mr. Sparky, whatever you're doing, fine. This is not a shot at you. This is think differently. This is why we're here. This podcast is about thinking differently. Phil's about thinking differently. Heavy Duty Homes is about thinking differently. The tagline on the side of the truck is America's on-time electrician. Are we kidding?
Mr. Sparky.
Mr. Sparky. Are we kidding? Like,
nice.
we have to talk about this shit?
Right.
We have to talk about this shit? If I have to tell you that I'm going to be on time,
right,
that's embarrassing.
Right.
Then there's not going to be, and I think I was just telling you too, driving by Joe's Tire, it was like, best mechanic. Based on what metrics, right? You're not comparing it to the other competition. You're comparing it to who you were yesterday.
That's right.
Best mechanic, best prices. You're not even talking about prices.
Right.
Because it's not about pricing.
It's not.
So I'm saying all this wholeheartedly because now I want to come in and say, tell us about the heavy duty experience. What's the actual heavy duty experience?
The actual heavy duty experience? It's so much more than just the job. I mean, it's feeling like you belong to a team. Like everybody that you call will have your back. Every single person that you deal with should deal with you professionally, cordially, politely, treat you like not only a friend, but sometimes family, and customers who let us in like that. We're constantly doing like barbecues with clients. We're getting invited over to have drinks and coffees. Just, hey, are you bored? Are you in the area? Stop by. Let's have a coffee. Years after the projects have been complete. And that's because of just kind of, the vibe that we've brought in. And it's hard to do that when people are just thinking of price.
Yeah.
Because that's not what we're about. We are, if you had to speak traditionally, putting us up against quote after quote, we are more of an expensive company. But we do bring a lot of value to the table. And that's what our customers see, is the value, how you're being taken care of, how quickly you're being serviced, how you're being respected. That's what people want. Yeah. We can all produce a product. 10 guys can produce that. But who can produce that and make you feel good is who you're going to give your money to. Whether it's $7, $10, or $12, you can go into any of these stores, and whatever store presents themselves the best, make you feel the best, you're going to go to that guy. That's kind of what we are. So not only do we provide excellent quality and service and communication and all that, but we're making you feel like you belong to somebody, and that is a feeling that you can't really duplicate, or you can't really produce. It's got to be organic.
Yeah. So this is touching to me, and I really want to stay in this space for a moment, right? We talk about the heavy duty experience. We talk about the experiences in life. Look, we're at Espanola Cigar Lounge here, having this podcast in the pouring rain. By the way, they've been so accommodating. We're in the right spot. They're fixing a coffee machine for us to bring us some coffee. Like, this is great. We talk about the experiences in life, and so yeah. Do they have coffee? Sure. Right? Do they have a place to sit? Sure. Do they have a cigar? Sure. Do they have good food? Sure. Like, you're checking the boxes. My point is, so does everybody else. And I'm saying that purposefully because it's about the experience in life. And Heavy Duty Homes does that. Like, yeah, sure. Do they do good quality work? Yeah. Are they on time? Yeah. Do they honor their commitments? Yeah. And so do other people. It's about the actual experience that I think people need, our folks out there, our audience out there needs to truly understand this. It's the holistic experience. You talk about bringing somebody in, and the minute that they step into the heavy duty atmosphere, they're embodied into it.
Right.
Hey, this is our team. This is our fleet. You're not hiding things. And by the way, like the headquarters ain't no little hole in the wall. You've invested time, energy, and resources into it because it's important to you.
That's
because
right.
You're bringing people in saying, our home is your home. And when you share stories about projects that go on, and people are calling you to have a coffee, like, that's touching.
Right.
You do things dramatically different. I want to actually, you've shared this with me, and so I'm going to share it to Will because it was really, really meaningful. I'm not going to pivot into this because anybody who knows Heavy Duty Homes or doesn't, they're going to do their research and figure out how Heavy Duty Homes has things structured differently as far as the Tarion type warranties that are offered and everything else. But I want to talk about this specifically because there was a moment in time where you shared a story and said, somebody called you several years after the build to say, Phil, there's something going on, and I think it was a foundation or something, and you could have easily said what many other folks say, their job's at a warranty, we can send you somebody, it's going to cost you. Instead, you flipped the script on that and said, hey man, good to hear from you. We'll send somebody right away.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Years down the road, yeah.
Right?
Of course, yeah. It was insulation and a foundation leak, yeah, crack and leak. We did a house years ago, and we did some waterproofing work, and the insulation had a little minor leak in it, so they were getting cold spots in their basement. And this happened two or 3 years after we were completed. He called me and says, my walls feel cold, my daughters can't work out in their area, the space doesn't feel right. We went and cut open all the drywall, all those areas, and patched everything up, found the insulation leaks where it was done incorrectly or where it had shifted, and we fixed it all, patched it up, all within 2 months' time from the phone call. So they were super happy with it. And he's been ranting and raving, and we continue to get referrals for that because the proof's in the pudding. I mean, like, we live up to our word. I tell people, if you were good to us, if you're a good client, because we're good to everybody, but if you're good back, I don't care if it's out of warranty. We'll come back and we'll do something 1,000 times. I don't care. We have to make it right. If somebody gives you a hard time and they don't pay or they constantly give you attitude, you get sour people sometimes.
Of course you do.
You do. We're not going to want to do that.
But that's like the people you want to work with.
Yeah.
This is it. Like, we already filled. Listen, if you're going into it to say, I'm going to. Actually, this is an important point. I'm going to withhold my budget. That doesn't serve anybody well. Tell me what you want to spend, man.
Yeah.
You want to spend $1 million? I'll tell
That's
you.
Another thing. Yeah, consultations. They don't want to tell you their budget. Like it's the friggin' holy grail. Like, tell me what you have to work with. I'm not going to overshoot. I'm not going to try to rape you. Chances are you're always half of what the actual cost is anyway. Yeah. So tell me so I can tell you if what you want to do is realistic. Or I just tell you a rough number of what you want to do, and I won't go and create a formal estimate because that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for somebody who wants to withhold their budget, then to find out that it's $600,000, not $300,000 that they wanted to spend, and then they don't give you a job anyway. Meanwhile, you spent 12 hours creating this, beautiful estimate for them. So Withholding budgets and stuff like that does not work. We're not shysters.
Yeah.
If you have 300 grand to work with, I'll tell you what 300 grand will get you. If you got 600 grand to work with, I'll do the same. But don't try to put me up against guys that are going to do a $600,000 job for 300 grand.
Yeah.
We're not those guys. We're a team of professionals.
And you know, this is the thing that pivot into, right? Relationships flourish when we're vividly transparent. If I don't have a budget, it takes vulnerability and courage, and there's no shame in it. This is the thing. People think that I cannot disclose. Phil, I don't know how much I want to spend. Okay,
Right.
Jonathan, tell me what you want to do. Yeah, I want to do all of this work.
Right.
Okay, it's going to cost you $3 million. I'm not ready to spend that money. So then at least you can scale back. Okay, cool, man.
Right.
Cool. But now it's like, I don't have a budget. Say I don't have a budget, or I'm not sure, or I've never done this before.
You don't know what it costs.
I don't know what it
And
costs.
I'm here to educate at that point. Half my job's education. That's what we do as builders and renovators, and you have to go into these consultations. We try to vet them on the phone to avoid a whole hour of appointment and driving and fuel and all that. You try to vet them on the phone. So when you finally get to the actual physical consultation, you're halfway there. The vetting's been done. They understand who you are and what you're there to do. Then it's education at that point. So now you need to see the project, talk realistically, budget numbers, and what they want to do and how long it's going to take, and make sure that everything flows. And that's how we gain our clients, is after that second consultation.
So when you're getting to know somebody, what do you do to truly connect with people?
To truly connect with them, at first there's not a whole lot you can do except be relatable. You have to make sure that you're hitting the points that they want to cover. You have to tell them what they want to hear, but that can only go so far because you can't lie.
Of course.
You can't lie. So you have to tell them what they want to hear, but you also have to tell them what you need to do things properly. So it's a whole mix of being able to read people, being able to work with people, and being able to satisfy them, and being able to execute. You need to make them believe that all in your first consultation, and that's how these relationships flourish. Transparency is key. Transparency is 100% key. And I'll tell them straight up, and sometimes it's not what they want to hear, that no, your budget's not going to work. You have to give them the bad news. But what you can do is, these are a few options. Maybe there's financing available. Maybe there's other ways they can think outside the box to achieve the product they want.
I love that. So there's that experience again. You're not saying it's not going to work. You're saying, hey, listen, your budget's not realistic, and here's another option.
Right.
Right. And actually, I want to come back to this, right? Because this is part of the reason that I understand, and we sort of reverted off of this, but I understand that you got into the Miami space too, because there's, people are building for their own personal use, but people are also building for investment purposes too, right? What you're transparently saying to them, hey, you know what? Maybe you don't want to. Maybe we're not. And I'm paraphrasing here, but this could happen, Jonathan. Maybe you're not ready to do your own home today. So why don't we get you into like a rental property so we can build some equity, so we can take that equity and then build your own home, right?
Come up with a solution.
Like you're creating solutions. You're problem solving. You're creating these options for people.
Right. And most people are. What's the word I'm looking for? I just slipped my mind. They're emotional buyers or impulsive.
Sure.
They're impulsive buyers. So when they call, usually it's pretty impulsive, and options don't always work for people who are working on impulse, because they want that product now. They want it for what they have, and that's again not really the customer that we're going to work with. That might be for another guy. In turn, like at that point, I would say, let me build my network. Well, I have these 3 builders that do this type of work. Father-son company, 2 buddies run this show. They're a lot cheaper. They can get your job done. It's not our level of quality, our level of professionalism and skill that we produce, but no reason why these people can't eat, and then send them their way.
Yeah.
Create other routes for people that work on impulse, that just need to get something done now.
And you're organically creating trust.
And you're building relationships with those builders.
Yeah.
Maybe those builders have a project that they can't tackle, and then they're going to give you that referral. So now we're trading customers and clients and stuff as well. Everybody eats.
And this gets back down to that, you're respecting that space to say, here's where our space is, here's where our strength is, and everything else, guys, there's lots to go around.
Always.
Right?
The world is under construction. There's always work to go around. There's no sense in fighting each other over it.
Wow. So, you take these ideologies, principles, when we pivot again, it takes the courage to come into the Florida, the Miami space, right? And I now have a vividly clear understanding to say, once we have the foundational underpinning of the psychological, the trust. This has been a theme of today's conversation: is trust. When that's there, that's when you're ready to call heavy duty, right? Because you're doing all the hard work. You're building the trust in the background with the trades, with the guys, with the time, energy, and resources to spend down here. Right. So that's really cool. Now, okay, here's a question that sort of, this is interesting, right? In a world where we're constantly connected, right? We've got cell phones, we've got watches, we've got every wearable device humanly thought of. When we talk about connectivity, in your opinion, does instant connectivity push people away, draw people together? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's bittersweet, to be honest. It does that exactly. It pushes us away and brings us together.
How so?
You kind of know what everybody's doing, so you feel connected with them, but you're actually never talking to these people. You're never physically connected to them. You're never closely connected to them. We're all connected to people through our devices only. And relationships, you can spark a relationship like that, but you can't build a relationship like that. Especially in the workforce, where I can communicate, I can see what people are doing, we can show support, but until we have that meeting and get to shake hands and kind of kick it old school, it's going to lack. So it does have a lot of pros, it does have cons. People rely on it solely, and that's where I see the cons.
Yeah.
You need to know when to draw the line and to go into human engagement and building that relationship to gain that trust. I'll never trust somebody through a digital relationship. Somebody I can never hire through that. There's people that reach out to me on media all the time and say, hey, can we try this for you? We build this, we do that. All right, you know what? Everything you're saying is cool, but come down to the office and let's have this meeting. Oh, well, we're kind of busy right now. You're not for me. Right. Other people, no problem. I'll drop what I'm doing. When do you want me there?
Thank you. See, again, thank you, folks. Like, we're talking about the experience. Again, here's the experience, right? We said, when able, can you bring us a coffee? And the answer is absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Right? And, so I want to hang out there for a second because I love what you said. I was expecting something different in my mind, truthfully. I was expecting an or answer and sort like this or this. And you flipped the script on me, which is cool, and said, Jonathan, it's not an or, it's an and conversation. I think the device helps, and it's no shortcut to the, see that human connection?
Right.
Right? Here, can we have a coffee with you? Yeah, sure.
You have to know how to use it. Yeah, and it could be good. Overusage of anything is poor, I mean, it's anything. Coffee is good, but only so much of it.
Moderation, yeah.
Moderation. Cigars.
Yeah.
Tequila. Everything in moderation. Same applies to smart devices, communication, all that. Only in moderation. So things can only go so far before they start to hurt you.
Yeah. For me, that's huge. That actually struck a chord, and thank you for bringing that up. The one thing, I communicate holistically as a human being to many people is moderation. Have the junk food and moderate it. Have the vegetables and moderate it.
Sure.
Right? Have the coffee and moderate it. Price check. Do you send your get all the work you, and then ask yourself, like, what am I really doing?
Right.
What am I really doing this for? I mean, I'm getting 5 guys to give me a price. You're spending. I'm bringing this back to construction. Like, you're spending millions of dollars here. I'm going to get.
But they're ignoring their feelings of who they feel good about.
Yeah.
And just entertaining the price only, and that's very wrong.
And that's disrespectful, right? Because
very wrong.
It takes time and energy. I don't need to tell you this, right? Phil, can you give me a price for this scope of work, right? Yeah, it takes you hours to put that together, and then just to ghost somebody or disappear.
Go with your gut instinct always. If your gut's telling you, I don't really trust this guy, but his price is on, why are you going to hire somebody your gut's telling you don't really trust?
And look, Phil's going to cost more money because he does great work because of the experience. And you know what?
But it is a value add.
It's a value add. And when I have a coffee with there, so understand, having a coffee with somebody, having a meal with somebody, spending time with somebody, rather than just picking up the phone and it's so transactional. Here's my scope of work, price it. Okay, We're not talking widgets here. Anybody, you want to talk about widgets? Go get an Amazon account, sell a fucking widget,
Yeah.
right? That's transactional.
And I price buffers too. Like I'm accurate. Like I throw in, if the job's 400 grand, if it comes out to $400,000 equally, I'll make it 450 and I'll beef up all the finishes, because I know that when they go shopping with the designer, they're gonna want to splurge. So I like to pad it right from the beginning and say, listen, I've given you top tier allowances for all of your selections, faucets, everything. Some people just say, fuck the top tier, we just want to do the super cheap. No problem, we'll work with you. But then they'll complain when there's extras every 2 weeks. Yeah, but I really like those faucets. Yeah, but I really like those total toilets. Yeah, but I really like the bigger tile. Okay, well, I put all that stuff in originally. Yeah, but it's annoying now you're sending me extras. Well, what do you want?
Yeah.
You got the base model Escalade, but you wanted the V.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So now you got to buy the rims.
Yeah.
Now you got to buy the sound system. You buy everything it didn't come with afterwards, instead of planning for it in the beginning.
If you know what you want, spend the money for the experience, right? I love the vehicle analogy you say there.
Yeah.
Everybody wants that top tier,
Right.
but I don't want to spend the money. Well, then you got to make a decision yourself. Like, what's the experience you actually want?
Right.
What's the experience you actually want? You know, I've talked about this before. The Cadillac experience is cool too, and the Disney World experience, right? You go to Disney,
Right.
you're spending top dollars, and you're immersed in Disney.
But you feel it.
You feel it, right? This is the heavy duty experience. You're immersed in it. This is it, folks. This is why you want to come here, right? Like, we're not talking transactional widgets, all right? We're talking about the whole experience. So, thanks, man. Like, thank you for making the time and space to come to Miami to do this. This is phenomenal. We're in a phenomenal place. We've got great human beings around us, and that's what we're here for. Like, the whole, title of today's episode is surround yourself with great people. Great people, right? Great people capturing this. Great atmosphere. This is it, man.
Beautiful.
We're not messing around. Like, know what you want, know what's gonna amplify you, and get in that orbit.
That's right.
You know, it's that same adage of you're gonna hang around smokers and you're not a smoker. Guess what? Eventually you're gonna start to smoke. Put yourself around great people.
Figure out how to get what you want.
Figure out how to get to what you want.
That's right.
So, I'm humbled, I'm honored. Just take a deep breath. A couple of fun questions.
Sure.
Okay, so random. Finish this. First thing that comes to mind. Finish your statement. Building in Miami is
Fun.
love it, right? Fun, like holy shit.
You gotta love challenges. So I find it fun.
Fun.
Yeah.
There's so many other words you could have. And the first thing, not the fun, right? It's like every kid. We want to have fun.
Yeah.
We want to have fun doing this. Construction needs more of.
That's a tough one. It needs a lot more of everything, but construction needs more attentive people, I guess. Or it's hard to say.
I'm gonna flip it then. Construction needs less of. Which could-
Arrogance.
Arrogance. Nothing else to say, right?
Yeah.
There's no place for your ego. There isn't, man. So if you're gonna enter the conversation, check it. Like this wonderful gentleman says, every day's a school day. Check that ego. Every day's a school day. Learn something.
And I actually learned that phrase when I hired my main super, Giancarlo, full time. He used to say that all the time, back when he was my tile setter. I would show him what I wanted, he would show me something new, and he would say, every day's a school day. And that stuck right from when I first heard it, and it's so true. Every day we learn.
Well, Giancarlo, thanks for sharing that with Phil. He shared it with me. He shared it with the world, and that's something that I take to heart, truthfully, right? Every day's a school day. We're here to learn. So, a couple of other things. What's the most exciting thing you're working on right now?
We're actually trying to get one really big development deal. So we're trying to step away from the one-offs and do one massive plan, one massive site plan and development, 40, 50, 60 homes, depending on city zoning and approval. So we're actually going to start selling heavy-duty homes as a product. Just as you would go to a development office and a sales office and purchase your home, you're going to be able to do that with heavy-duty CR salespeople. You won't be able to customize the home. We're using top-tier designers to outfit the home already existing. So you'll be able to buy finished models at our level of quality with our design level of finishes.
Holy shit. I was expecting, I'm working on this pretty cool thing. You're saying I'm creating a I'm creating a store. You come in and
Yeah.
you just, I like this house. Okay, here's your price. Here's your
Literally come home shopping.
right.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I know what I want. I want that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're wrapping up here, and we're in Miami, and here's the vision. I want you to picture this sailboat. You're cruising around the world in a sailboat. You can have one message on that sail. What's the one message you want to share with the world?
Keep it heavy.
Keep it heavy.
Keep it heavy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
It's been
for
a
having me,
pleasure.
man. Thanks, John.
How do people get in touch with you?
Usually Instagram, website messages at heavydutyhomes.com, www.heavydutyhomes.com. Yeah, just send us a DM.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for hanging out to the end. Tremendously moved, touched, and inspired. I mean, we talk about the experience of being in the atmosphere of Miami, the experience of being at Espanola Cigar Lounge, the experience they've created for us, the experience of being in the presence of Phil Russo, Heavy Duty Homes. Like, Heavy Duty Homes does everything differently. When you become part of the Heavy Duty family, you're embraced with open arms. Talk about things like when Phil talks about building trust, how that organically shapes the relationship, how he talks about the importance of knowing what you're getting into, the importance of educating people. Heavy Duty Homes Miami, mind-blowing. Phil Russo, Heavy Duty team, get in their orbit. It is amazing. Thanks for hanging out to the end. I truly appreciate you. If this has served you well, my ask of you, share it with somebody that you know is going to make a difference in their life, because this is serious stuff. We're talking about showing up as a human being. We're talking about doing it differently. We're talking about flipping the script on the traditional construction environment. We're talking about what it means to lead with a people-centric approach. Heavy Duty Homes communicates that, embodies that, shows that. It's touching, inspiring. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being with us here today. Appreciate it.